Do you have a president that lies constantly, who's told over 20,000 lies or misleading claims in the past 4 years? Well, why not make a game out of it? From the company that brought you Jumanji and 2020, we bring you Liar Liar game. You'll need to bring your player through a minefield of lies until they end up in jail. I'll be Donald Trump and you be Mitch McConnell. Ooh, a mystery lie. I don't know Jeffrey Epstein.
You are fake news.
Time to go back a square. Hey, Donald's in jail. I won. Aww. Featuring some of your favorite lies like Mexico will pay for the wall and my tan's not fake. Also, it's a Democratic hoax. I'm a stable genius. I don't know the guy. And the virus will just disappear like a miracle. Replacement packs come every 2 days. Thanks, liar, liar, pants on fire.
Yo, how's it going, you guys? We are live. That was hilarious. That is from a girl named, her name is Mermaidmama Maggie. And she's going to be joining us in about 40 minutes. Here we've got Bulletproofmedic on the line here. And then we've got BrainDaddy. And then Dr. Tan. And then we got Be Less Stupid. Jon is here. And we're streaming on a lot of people's channels right now, and we're having a good time. Let's start off with the introduction. My name is Bert. I come from California. I've been traveling my whole adult life pretty much, and I started a YouTube channel 2 years ago. And I just have a passion for traveling and food and culture and showing people the world. And I came back to America because of COVID, and unfortunately, I've just been here ever since the COVID outbreak. So anyways, that's my intro. Let's move on to Jon from Be Less Stupid.
So who I am doesn't matter. There are 16 days until the election, and you must make a plan to get out and vote for Joe Biden and the Democrats on the down ballots. Please make sure that you know where you're supposed to go. If you don't know if you are registered, go to vote.org and make sure that you are registered to vote. And if you can only do one thing to help the vice president win, that is promise yourself and a neighbor that you will take them to the polling place. If someone you know needs a ride or isn't sure how to get to where they're supposed to vote, please make sure that you take a buddy. And that way now Democrats get 2 votes because you showed up.
That's great. Yeah, it's really important to vote and get the message across that we don't want this mess of a leader here. Dr. Tan, what's your background and everything?
Hey everyone, my name is Dr. Tan. I am a general practitioner, a family medicine resident out of Michigan, and I've been treating COVID on the inpatient, outpatient, and ICU setting. And I also run a channel about survival medicine. Basically, how do you treat medical emergencies without any resources? And yeah, happy to be here.
Great to have you. And then we got the BrainDaddy.
Well, I can't follow that up with anything. I work in retail, so you know. But I have a page on TikTok. It's the BrainDaddy YT. I just basically try to make this mess of a political nightmare into something funny. So I try to make everyone laugh and have a good time. But I also want to kind of double down on what Jon said about registering to vote, getting out and voting. I dropped my ballot off at a ballot box. My ballot, my mom's ballot, my dad's ballot. So even if you can just bring people's filled out ballots, you can do that in most places that I'm aware of to really help people get their votes out.
That's great. Yeah, I'm glad that you were able to go out and vote and get your voice heard. And then we got Christina. Christina, welcome to the program. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me again.
We're doing the introductions to our channels and what we do on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram and all the different platforms. And could you give us the lowdown of what you do?
Yeah, so primarily on TikTok, it seems like for this sort of relevant content. So my TikTok page didn't initially start as a medical education page, but it sort of evolved into one. And basically now almost all of my content is medical education around around COVID and trying to combat misinformation and bust some myths that are going around. Obviously, a couple other random topics kind of strewn into my content about being like a mom or whatever, but most of it is COVID medical education stuff. I do have an Instagram. I have a personal Instagram and Facebook, and then I have an Instagram that I use to kind of also put my TikTok content on. So mostly TikTok though.
Well, thank you so much, Christina, for joining us for this really special episode focusing in on the kind of the misinformation or the fake news that's been going around about COVID, and it's been pushed by very unexpected people. It's really bizarre, the things that come out of someone's Twitter account daily that typically is pretty false news. And yeah, it's just getting really weird and annoying. Someone's creepy uncle pretty much is in charge of those Twitter feed things. But yeah, anyways, you guys, I've got a lot of different kind of clips to show you guys of examples of the fake news that's been going around. And we've got a couple other guests joining us later. So yeah, it's going to be a really fun show. And yeah, so what's the latest fake news that you guys have heard about COVID? The most recent one that really brought you guys made you guys have to correct this. I mean, I think, Christina, you have had quite a few videos on this specific one.
Yeah, is this about the CDC report?
Yeah, like 85% of people with a mask don't, or that they do get COVID or something. I mean, I don't know. Can you explain how they even confuse this, or who confused this?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's because people don't know how to interpret data, and people don't know how to read scientific and medical articles that are published in journals that are not intended for a lay audience. So somehow they get their hands on them. They look at one table and they look at one line in one table that kind of presents like essentially raw data, and they somehow come to their own conclusion from that one piece of data, which is a completely erroneous conclusion. Yeah, that has really bothered me a lot because, you know, for me, I'm okay with some misinformation if people are just kind of saying things that they make up on their own. But it bothers me when people have large platforms and large audiences and they're spreading this information. That's really where I get irked.
So can I add something? I live in Santa Monica, California, and there's a popular tourist street called the 3rd Street Promenade, right? And you get tourists from all over the world. And yesterday, for the first time, I saw members of a group called StandForFreedomNow.org. And what this group is doing is they're spreading all sorts of horrible misinformation about the virus, particularly one fact in particular, where they say that the CDC even admits that there aren't 212,000 people who've died from the virus, that there's really only about 10 or 12,000 people. Yeah. And what they are, and I'll let the doctors explain this, but I believe what they are doing is they are mis-explaining that there are comorbidities, that if you, let's say you were walking down the street and you have diabetes, but you get hit by a bus, right? You died because you got hit by a bus. You didn't die of the diabetes. The people have other diseases, so they're getting COVID, and they want to say, "Oh no, the diabetes killed them, and not the COVID." So, but I'm not a doctor, so I'll
absolutely I can speak to that.
About that.
Yeah, no problem. So the main issue here is that we're talking about deaths that happened that wouldn't have happened otherwise because of COVID-19. So it's kind of the same lines as if you think of the illnesses that COVID kind of ensues, whether that is acute respiratory distress syndrome, where your lungs have a big issue, or strokes, pulmonary embolisms, kidney injury to the point where that you go into kidney failure, have electrolyte abnormalities, your heart can go to arrhythmias, all these chain reactions that happen from the virus. Yes, you can come here for, let's say, a trauma like a car accident, but if your recovery is prolonged, or if you come here with heart failure and your recovery is prolonged or made more dangerous because of the infection, the deaths should account for that as well, and should be reflective of that, because there's nothing else to explain that dramatic increase in the number of deaths that we're having in 2020.
Yeah, they can also take the number of deaths from last year and compare them relatively to this year, and that's another way that people have been figuring this all out, what is really going on.
Yeah, that's basically the excess mortality data. I mean, we've known for decades, kind of almost like clockwork, we can predict generally the number of deaths that we're going to have. And there's very clear peaks that happen during flu season. And there's one really bad flu season we had a couple years ago where we kind of exceeded what we expected for mortality. But there has been a sharp market increase in mortality this year, far beyond what we would normally predict for excess mortality. And there is no other explanation for that except COVID. And for people to somehow argue that there's some other, reason for it is insane. I mean, sure, maybe a handful of those are related to some other issue, but there's no way to account for that many deaths and have it not be related to COVID.
So can I interrupt? Can I just add one? Could you just be a little bit more specific about how these people are taking this information and twisting it by saying that, for example, that a person with diabetes who got COVID, they would argue then died of diabetes, not of the virus, right? That's how they're reducing the number of actual deaths. Could you speak to some of that and just make it clearer so that we could help knock that idea down?
Yeah, no problem. So for the specific case of diabetes, it is a risk factor for chronic disease, for exacerbations with COVID. But very specifically, the chronic diseases that end up in death that we're seeing a lot in the hospital is things like COPD, things like heart disease, whether that's heart failure or coronary artery disease. In those aspects, if people are in the hospital for CHF, chronic heart failure, and acute exacerbation of that, the diagnosis at death is likely going to be acute respiratory distress syndrome or respiratory failure and heart disease. But COVID makes that a lot worse, whether that is getting a pulmonary embolism, because COVID ensues a whole cytokine storm and inflammatory markers that actually increase your chances of clotting. So that clot goes to your lungs, plugs it up. There's no oxygen to your lungs, so that causes the issue. But it also pushes that pressure onto the heart. So yes, the person may have died from the heart failure and the pulmonary embolism, but that whole chain reaction was started by COVID-19, and it's something that we've seen consistently.
So I think you bring up a really good point, which is that the way that death certificates are completed is it doesn't just say COVID-19 or diabetes. It talks about, there's cause and there's mechanism of death, and those are two different things. And also, generally speaking, when the person who's pronouncing the death completes a death certificate, we have to think clinically, what was the clinical course that led to this person's demise, right? So, was COVID the first thing that happened, and then they developed a pneumonia, and then they develop a sepsis, and then they develop ARDS or acute respiratory distress syndrome, and then they died, right? So all of those things are going to end up on the death certificate. So all of those things are going to be coded. So, and maybe to some degree their history of heart failure contributed to their death because they were not in as good shape going into getting COVID. So all of that's going to show up on the death certificate. So I think people who misinterpret this data think that there's just one cause of death on a death certificate. They don't realize that there's a whole multitude of issues that go into things that contributed to a person's death. And also there's so much, the problem too is that there is variability in how people complete death certificates, and that there isn't, it relies on the clinical judgment of that person. So there probably are some clinicians out there who have not pronounced a lot of deaths and suddenly are pronouncing a lot of deaths and don't know how to fill out a death certificate completely. So I don't think there's fraud happening. And there is so much out there where people insist that there is deliberate fraud happening. I don't think there's deliberate fraud. I think there's just some ignorance and lack of training. So I don't know if Dr. Tan, you agree with that, but that's what I've seen.
100% agree. And it also changes between hospital systems, varying in hospital protocols. We have a standardized form and kind of like templates that we use to pronounce people. But including everything that contributed to that death is a must, because we have to be as accurate as possible, especially for cases that didn't turn out the way that we anticipated.
But the point that I think that I'm trying to make is that people had those underlying conditions already, and they weren't dead from them. They had pulmonary issues. They had circulatory issues. They had a number of issues that hadn't yet killed them, right? And then they got COVID, and that exacerbated it to the point at which they died, right? And so the CDC has been saying that even though they had these underlying things, right, that's how they get 212,000, which is to say those people had the underlying conditions and then got COVID.
and would not
now
have
saying that
died, right, and would not have died unless they got COVID.
Right. But then what this group is, the people who are trying to pull the wool over people's eyes are saying, no. Those people that their pulmonary issues killed them, not the virus that they got. And they lack an understanding of medicine and of biology, that those issues hadn't killed them yet until they got this other thing that made their underlying condition dramatically worse.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question. How does someone die just from COVID? Like, that happens, obviously.
Yep.
So what goes into someone dying just specifically from that and that only?
Absolutely. I can answer that because, unfortunately, when this first hit in Michigan, Detroit being a hub for airport traffic to come in, a lot of us physicians, especially people who talk to patients like really close up, we had an ears, nose, and throat surgeon in one of our sister hospitals. And this gentleman was in his 30s, no pre-comorbidity. So I think this kind of answers a lot of your questions. And one thing to consider is the viral load. So January, February, March, in that period, he was still seeing patients, people that had no facial protections. He had no protections as well. And just the viral load of that exposure, how many viruses at one time he was receiving, that put his immune system into like a haywire situation. So it goes from you get infected, you have a response, a normal response of your body trying to fight off the infection. And then there's a moment where that response just kind of skyrockets. And we kind of label that as a cytokine storm. And this gentleman, unfortunately, when that happens, your lungs, the character of how it normally functions changes. And there's a lot of fluid in the lungs. It's kind of like you're drowning.
Right.
And that's how you can pass very, very quickly.
Just to give you, explain?
Yeah.
I was wondering, could you speak to for example, we all saw the president on TV, for example, having trouble breathing, right? We saw him in that little video where he was, right, trying to, as I understand it, a layman, right, that the COVID inflames the alveoli where the blood and the lungs meet, and the lungs are pulling oxygen right out of your blood. And that is the thing that has, could you explain that and speak to that?
So the alveoli is kind of like the smallest part of your lungs, and that's where air and oxygen exchange. So it's kind of like if you blew up a balloon and visualize that as that one alveoli, you have air in the balloon that you're blowing, so that's your fresh oxygen. But on the other side of that balloon, just kind of imagine blood vessels around that, kind of all around it. And that blood vessels kind of exchange that air through that very thin layer, like almost like a coffee paper type of layer that's able to filter through. And it takes that oxygen and pushes it away. But in ARDS, the acute respiratory distress syndrome, and in COVID, what happens is that balloon gets filled up with fluid, which is a natural kind of inflammation response. If you bump your elbow, what happens to your elbow? That it becomes red, hot, and swollen. Same thing for your alveoli. If there's fluid in there, that oxygen can't pass that barrier normally. So it is kind of like drowning. You just have that fluid. Same thing if you were to pump fluid into the lungs. It's kind of like you can't have the oxygen in your bloodstream that you normally would need.
And that's why the people end up on respirators, right?
Absolutely.
When we talk about people being on a respirator, it's because that all of those places where the blood and the oxygen are exchanging, right? Many more of them are inflamed, and so that isn't taking place, right? The transfer to get oxygen, that's why they put you on the respirator.
Absolutely. So that's one of what I want to clarify. When you say respiratory respirator, I want to emphasize that this is like positive pressure ventilation. So one way to get that fluid out is to push pressure in, and that kind of lets that fluid leak out and have that exchange happen. So that's the reasons why that's so life-saving, whether that's through a mask, nasal cannula, or eventually, or hopefully not, intubation. And that's for our serious cases where they're trying so hard to breathe that their muscles to breathe just get worn out and then they can't breathe by themselves. And then we have to intubate them.
So we've got right here Bulletproofmedic, who's based in Canada. And we actually need to do his quick intro. Actually, thanks for joining us, Anthony, Bulletproofmedic. Let's talk about your channel, what you do really fast.
Yeah, okay. So I'm pretty new to all the social media stuff, really. I just, it was June or July, I started doing parodies. Started out with Karen videos. I started out with the Officer Karen McMuffin video. Maybe you've seen that, maybe you haven't. She's a woman crying. She was in Georgia. She was crying after she went through a drive-thru, had to wait for her McDonald's food for 2 or 3 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever it was. And I turned that into, I could do this with Trump supporters all day long. And there's more material to work with there anyways. So I pretend to be a Trump supporter. I had that southern accent, y'all, and, I throw on a bulletproof vest and the red hat, and the amount of people that believe it, it's just most people, as soon as people see the red hat, because it's like a symbol of hate now, right? Yeah. As soon as people see that, they're so quick to, like I said in the last stream, I'm kind of the personification of don't judge a book by its cover. So people will see my videos, and to be fair, I kind of put I put captions on them that are kind of clickbaity. So I always phrase it as this is an actual Trump supporter kind of thing. So people are quick to judge, and the responses are. I prove every day. Unfortunately, I don't want to be doing this, but with those comments, I prove every day that libtards are actually a real thing. Mm-hmm. Because, Democrats and liberals all like to point out but the fake news and misinformation and, do your research before speaking. And then I get comments like that on my videos, and I'm like, you didn't even listen to the 60-second video. So what hope do we have? Anyways, I'm on YouTube, Bulletproofmedic, TikTok, Bulletproofmedic. I just followed you, Dr. Tan.
Thank you very much.
Christina, I'm pretty sure I'm already following you. If I
you are.
Correctly.
I just started following you, and I see you're following me already.
Beautiful. And I'm on, my biggest following is on Twitter. That's where I started. That's where most of my material was originally made for because of the longer video limit. I'm on there as Anthony C. Walker. You can also look me up under Hot Medic. And that's just a nickname I got from. There's a little bit of a funny story there. 5,000 followers on Twitter is kind of a little bit of a milestone, because before you have 5,000 followers, Twitter limits how many you can follow. Basically, once you're at 5,000 followers, the sky's the limit as far as you can follow like 100,000 people for the most part. I was nearly at 5,000, and I put out a tweet that went semi-viral, and all I said was, joking, obviously, I said, so who do I have to blow to get to 5,000 followers? And one lady who's now a really good friend online had said, Hot Medic offering blowjobs, I'm in. So I went with the name Hot Medic, and it kind of stuck. Anyways, that's my intro. I'm sorry it took so long.
Oh, wait, let me actually, I could play we won't get into that. We're going to focus in on the misinformation stuff we got here. So this is actually of Trump's town hall meeting just from less than a week ago, from 4 days ago or 5 days ago. The stuff that the NBC reporter got from her. Actually, this one here, we're going to play about 1 minute of this one, and it's talking about how bad she treated him on that stage for NBC.
Oh, my God.
And, here it is.
Trump is speaking to a rally of supporters.
Joe Biden said nothing when statues of Christopher Columbus were in trouble, and a heroic signer of the Declaration of Independence was removed by the Democrat politicians in his home state of Delaware, which he never leaves, in all fairness. Where's Joe Biden speaking today, Delaware? He doesn't speak. You know what he does? He gets up. How about his news conferences where the fake news media gives him the questions and the answers? They say, what do you think about this or that? And then he reads the answer. I've been doing this stuff not that long, and I haven't actually been doing it. Relatively speaking, I've been doing it for a very short period of time, right? In fact, that's one of the reasons they said I could never win. They said he's never been a politician. But the fact is, they gave him the questions. They gave him the answers. They will ask a question, and he will read to them the answer. And did you see the other night with George Stephanopoulos? It was like, you know, they call them softballs. And then I had to go on with that person, you know, that person. No, she was jumping out of her seat. She was jumping out of her seat. Thank you very much, Johnny. Everybody know Johnny?
Oh,
Anyways,
God.
he's treated so poorly. And, yeah, I mean, that was not okay. And they gave Joe Biden all the answers. I mean, blah, blah, blah. He always says this every time. The media
Same
hates
thing
him.
every time. Same thing.
And I can't get past this. Like this week in, we call it flight of ideas. Like he cannot stick to any one thing that he's talking about. Like he just talked about like 6 different things in a 1-minute clip.
It's because his followers, that's the only attention span gives them. It's like 10 seconds at a time.
True.
And then
true.
they see like pretty colors and they float away.
Squirrel.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, it's really funny how everything is just, you know, everything is everyone else's fault with Trump.
Always.
He doesn't want to blame anybody except for other people. Like he cannot stand that, you know?
I mean, that's classic narcissist behavior, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely. And so this was actually the actual town hall that they had with her. This is just like a 1 minute of it. Let me play it really fast.
You were asked point blank to denounce white supremacy.
I denounce white supremacy, okay?
You did
I've
2 days
denounced
later.
white supremacy for years, but you always do it. You always start off with a question. You didn't ask Joe Biden whether or not he denounces Antifa.
Let me ask you about QAnon. It is this theory that Democrats are a satanic pedophile ring and that you are the savior of that. Now, can you just once and for all state that that is completely not true and that disavow QAnon in its entirety?
I know nothing about QAnon.
I just told you.
I know very little. You told me, but what you tell me doesn't necessarily make it fact. I hate to say that. I know nothing about it. I do know they are very much against pedophilia. They fight it very hard, but I know nothing about it.
They believe it is a satanic cult run by the deep
study
state.
The subject. I'll tell you what I do know about. I know about Antifa, and I know about the radical left, and I know how violent they are and how vicious they are.
Do you have any remaining symptoms from COVID?
Nothing whatsoever. I'm great. I feel good.
In particular, did you have pneumonia?
Well, I'll tell you what happened. I didn't feel good. I didn't feel strong. I had a little bit of a temperature. The doctors at the White House are fantastic, as you can imagine, and they really didn't want to take a chance. And they said, "Let's go to the hospital." I said, "That's okay. I'm going to, respond to what you say."
You also are a leader and a setter of an example. And if you're not wearing a mask when your administration is saying best practice right now is wear a mask, no, it's not foolproof.
But many people are catching it. Many people are getting this disease that was sent to us by China, and it shouldn't have been allowed to happen. But many people are getting this. And, I mean, nobody's being blamed. Everybody is working hard to get this thing out of our country, get it out of the world. Look at what's going on in Europe. Massive spikes. They've done a very good job, but now you take a look today at the UK, you take a look at Spain and France and Italy. There's tremendous spikes.
But our death rate is worse than, well, not Spain, but those other countries.
I have things right here that will tell you exactly the opposite.
Me too.
So the UK is up 2,500%, because I knew you'd be doing this. I know you very well. The UK is up 2,500%. The EU is up 722%. And the United States is down 21%.
But we have, our deaths per capita is among the highest among industrialists.
Excess mortality, we're a winner. Thank you.
Taxes, as you know, the New York Times has obtained.
Anyways, I can't handle it. Listen anymore to that. Insane. But like he's talking about masks in one point, not in that exact one, but at one point he was saying that Dr. Fauci is still saying not to wear masks. Dr. Fauci has been saying to wear masks since mid-April, at least.
Here's what the president doesn't understand about science, right? That they don't have all of the answers at any particular moment, right? They take what they know and give you the best answer that they have at that moment. And then when they get more information, right, then they go, oh, you know what? That other thing we told you, it turns out we have better information now. And now we think that you actually should wear the masks. And the GOP takes that as, oh, they don't they don't understand how masks work, so ergo, we don't have to wear them. And rather than understanding, science is complicated and that we didn't know what the particle size was of this thing or how it was spread from the droplets in your own breath to other people and how far could you spit or sneeze, right? Or that when you're outside, the wind blows a little bit. So it's more likely to dissipate when you're outside and less likely, for example, when you're inside, when you're standing close to people and the air is constantly recirculated and without there being wind, for example, indoors, you're more likely to spread it to other people because there's nothing to carry it between when it leaves your breath and gets to the other guy or woman's breath and where they breathe it in.
Yeah.
I almost look at it from like the comments I get on, because I deal with this topic all the time on my freaking videos. And I'm not a doctor, obviously, but I almost think like Trump people think it was when Dr. Fauci was saying, about not wearing a mask, they treat it like he was saying it deliberately for us to not wear a mask. But like John was just saying, like, we didn't know everything about it at that time. But they don't understand that. They don't want to understand it, or they're pretending to ignore it, or what. But they're like treating it like Dr. Fauci was deliberately saying, "Don't wear a mask," so this must all be his fault.
Right. And it's interesting to me how like he, Dr. Fauci says one thing early on in the pandemic, like you said, when we didn't have all the information, he, like you said, John, we make recommendations based on the data we have at that moment, and he says one thing and then flips later. And then he's kind of, labeled as a flip-flopper or someone who can't be trusted. And yet this president who is constantly sort of contradicting himself or saying, like, how are they not seeing? It's ridiculous, the hypocrisy.
Oh, it's insane. Like, I mean, Trump has flip-flopped on so many major topics,
But no one, nope. And the thing also that gets me is I feel like, not to overgeneralize, but the right tends to love to play gotcha. They love to just like, find any one thing to hang on to, and they really, really hang on to it hard. It's astonishing to me how kind of narrow-minded they can be.
To that point, I would say I saw.
Yeah, they'll take like one little bit of information and they'll run with it.
Yeah,
go for it.
I was just going to say, I think it was Ben Shapiro that had said, this was after Trump did his little ride around at Walter Reed. So he was in the car, he was wearing a mask. The two Secret Service agents, or four, I can't remember, maybe it was four of them in the car with him, were wearing masks.
The two guys in the front seat.
Yeah, the two in the front seat, thank you, were wearing masks. And he started to get vilified for this because he was endangering the lives of those Secret Service agents. And Ben Shapiro, I think it was him, had come out and said, the left just admitted that masks don't work. And it's like, no, they reduce transmission. They don't prevent it completely. So yeah, they absolutely love to grab onto one little thing and twist it and turn it into their own little fake narrative and just run with it.
Here's the thing. So one of the things that people do in terms of psychology, right, is we put our faith in experts, right? The people who go to the doctors here, right? Your patients don't know how a pulmonary embolism is caused, right? However, they trust that you know that and that you will give them the correct answer to that question, right? However, the people who watch Fox News have chosen as their experts people like Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson and Ben Shapiro and Rush Limbaugh, people who are lying to them, right? But their faith in their experts is as strong as the doctor's patient's faith in them is. And they don't, it's really like the Dunning-Kruger effect, where they don't know how dumb they really are. And it's a huge, enormous problem, right? That they've trusted these experts, alleged experts, right? And don't have the facility with which to go, oh, you know what? Sean is lying to me, or Tucker Carlson is lying to me, or Ben Shapiro has a different agenda, right, than whatever truth or fact or science is, right? He's got some other agenda, so that gets literally hundreds of thousands of people to run around and go, I'm not going to wear my mask. Nope. The left admitted that they don't work 100% of the time. No, that's true. They don't work 100% of the time. It helps prevent the spread. It doesn't stop it empirically, right? The the droplets are tiny, right? And if your mask is slightly askew, or if somebody really sneezed on you, right, you're going to get it. That's how it works.
Yeah, there's actually kind of a model to visualize it. They call it like the Swiss cheese sort of model, where basically like there's multiple layers of sort of mitigation strategies to use in a public health situation like this, in a pandemic or an epidemic. And one of them is things like masks, and then distancing, and then hand hygiene, and contact tracing, and testing, and all of these things collectively. Like, I can't tell you how many times the comments I've received and I've addressed as well, where people say, well, if it's all or nothing. If the mask doesn't work 100%, then I'm not going to take it. If the flu shot doesn't work 100%, then I won't take it. You know,
Condoms
and there's so
don't
much
work
in between.
100%.
Exactly. Seatbelts, like, right? Seatbelts, right? Like that kind of thing. I actually use those exact examples in some videos of mine, but it's like you guys said, they will take whatever piece of information they want and just twist it to fit whatever narrative they have that's existing. It's insanity.
Is that like a psychological thing, or is that more of like I just want this to be true, so I'm going to believe it to be true?
Yes,
kind of thing.
It's the cognitive dissonance.
A little bit of both, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the cognitive dissonance. They can't hold two competing ideas simultaneously.
Right, yeah.
And it's the I forget what the other one is, where you search out only information that confirms what you
confirmation
already
bias.
believe.
Yes.
Right. Thank you. And that you then disregard anything that is in opposition to that.
Right.
Yeah, it's a complete lack of critical thinking and a total unwillingness to do any sort of critical thinking at all. And then when you suggest to do critical thinking, they call you an elitist or a leftist elitist. Oh, you think you're so much smarter than someone actually said to me the other day, oh, so you think because you're a nurse practitioner or you're educated that you're better than me? I'm like, I'm not better than you. I think I know more about this than you. Like, you are like this guy was a welder. This welder was arguing with me about virus transmission because he works in a nuclear power plant. I'm like, I will never tell you how to do your job or how to protect yourself around radioactive material. So don't tell me how to protect myself and others from viral transmission. Like, I was like, who the F do you think you are?
Yeah, they suddenly become experts in something they know nothing about just to like prove their point. And I see all the time on comments on my page. It's just like, well, I saw this in an article once. I know what I'm talking about. Like, I watched ER for a couple of years, so
Yep.
What's going on in Canada right now, Anthony? Is it like locking down a little bit because it's getting colder and it's kind of getting to be more COVID in the population, or what is happening? People are wearing masks, though, right? Am I correct? They're coming together.
So the last time I went out to a shopping center, this was 2 months ago, maybe. There was 100% that, and I was actually looking. There was 100% compliance with wearing masks, and this was in a fairly populated city. I'm just east of Toronto, so I went into the what they call the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area. So it was within the limits of not the city of Toronto, but the Greater Toronto Area. So it was a populated city. There's definitely a lot of people there that would have, say, competing thoughts on how masks work or whether COVID is real or not. But in this mall, there was, no one yelling at store employees because of the mask policy saying, I have rights. There was 100% compliance. We are starting to lock down a little bit in certain areas. They're taking a more surgical approach because they're seeing that the second wave is starting, but only in the populated areas. So the nice thing about Canada is with our landmass and our population, everything is kind of spread out. So you see in Toronto, for example, certain regions of the Greater Toronto Area are now being locked down, reverted back to phase 2. But where I am, like my jurisdiction, I'm an hour east of Toronto, my jurisdiction, my municipality has only had in total less than 30 cases of COVID ever. So we're still in phase 3. Everyone here wears masks, but it's those more populated areas where, and we see it on the news reports all the time. People are just, especially younger people, are getting fed up with being, having to lock down, and they don't understand, or they have this cavalier attitude towards COVID, and they don't understand that, if we sacrifice a bit for right now, for just right now, the future could be so much better. They just want to live in the moment, in the right now. They want to have the beach parties, which we see every weekend in Toronto, and the police are trying to clamp down on it. But they're so selfish, and they want to have their parties right now, and they don't care about the outcomes. But for the most part, Canada's doing amazing. We have 67,000 cases in my province, which is the most populous province. I want to say it's about 40 to 45% of the entire population of Canada is in my province. So we're doing really good relative to America. We're nowhere near as good as South Korea. But I think we're trying to thread the needle as best we can, and most people understand how serious it is and how to mitigate the risks.
Is the compliance there just because Canadians are so dang polite? Or is it just because everyone in America is dicks? Like,
it may be a little bit of
both,
but with also a secret third option is that the stuff that you have on your television, like Fox News and OANN, that is illegal here in Canada because of the misinformation. That stuff cannot be played on our airwaves. So we don't have that, working against us.
What about, do you have a group of militiamen who are meeting in secret to kidnap your prime minister?
I don't know about groups of people, but we did have someone 2 to 3 months ago, a Canadian Forces Reserve officer. He drove 18 hours from Manitoba. He loaded his truck up with guns, and he forcefully drove onto the Prime Minister's residence. And he was apparently intent on causing harm to our Prime Minister. He didn't really do his research because the Prime Minister wasn't even in our province at the time. So that didn't work out very well for him. But we do have people like that, but it's
so you do
a
have
lot more
dumbasses
isolated.
up there too.
Absolutely. And as I said in the last stream, my brother is a Trump supporter, and the only reason he can give me for supporting Trump is I like him. He honestly knows nothing about any policies or politics involved. He just says he likes him.
That's how it is here too. Why do you like Trump? Because he's cool. Like, okay.
He hates the same people I do.
Yeah, he hates the same people I do. Well, okay, what has he done for us? Shut up! What has Joe Biden done for us? 47 years of politics. For God's sakes.
Just Joe Biden, everyone knows, is a pedophile running a pedophile ring out of a pizzeria in downtown Washington in the basement of a pizzeria that doesn't actually exist. Right? That basement does not exist. Right? You can't be running a pedophile ring out of the basement of a pizzeria if the pizzeria doesn't have a basement.
And somehow we're the stupid ones.
Yeah, I mean, there's I'm sure there, in Canada too, like there is in the States, there's such regional variability. Like I live in the Boston area, and Massachusetts is known for being very blue. There's a lot of factors I think that go into that, but I feel very lucky living here because everybody's very respectful about mask wearing and totally gets sort of the severity of what it is. We're also like a huge healthcare hub here in Boston. So I think people just kind of appreciate it in a different way. But man, do I feel bad for folks in other parts of the country where it just isn't the case.
Yeah, and into your point about it being regional here, there's actually there's actually a few of our provinces that have less confirmed cases of COVID right now than the White House does.
Well, if you take all of Europe, which is, Europe and Canada put together, and last week there was a day where we had 1,200 cases, 1,208 cases is what we had, and Europe and Canada put together in one population, which is 390,000 people, apparently, or those selected countries in Europe plus Canada were 390,000 people. They had 92 deaths, and we had 1,208 deaths. So literally, we are going so far behind all the other countries in the world, but especially the first world countries. They have got us beat by we've got 12 times the amount or more. 13 times the amount is more like it, which is just really sad amount of deaths. And this was last week. I don't know what it is today. It could be less or more. We just don't know, but I don't know.
I'm glad you brought that up about the first world countries.
We're winning, that's for sure. And what were you saying, Anthony?
I'm glad you brought that up about the first world countries. Because I kind of wanted to ask, how I don't want to say that we can't trust their numbers, but how accurate could they or would they be, given that they don't have, the same budget that first world countries have? So as far as maybe medical training or COVID testing, et cetera goes, do we think those numbers are really close to the actual numbers?
Maybe a doctor should answer this because I'm probably not the qualified one.
Yeah, I think always like total number of cases is always a tricky one. So I think that's the easiest number for media outlets to report is total number of cases. But I always find that number a little bit misleading, and there's so much to dig into that number, because what you really want to look at is more like percent positive cases. There's so many other measures and metrics to look at that are a much more accurate representation of how many actual like new cases that you are having relative to your population size. But yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of countries where they don't have the resources to ramp up testing. I think the US kind of falls in that category, at least at the beginning, that we didn't have testing. But it is hard to say. And I think that's why it's important to try to compare us to like other countries in a similar sort of, level, I guess. I don't know.
And then one other point to add, just looking at the metrics that I would typically be more concerned about is percentage of hospitalizations or number of hospitalizations, number of ICU admissions, and number of mortalities related to that. So for me, it's not necessarily important that we have a astronomically high amount of cases. What's really important is that when that number of admissions kind of skyrocket, we don't have the bed capacity, the resources, the personnel to treat our regular illnesses, traumas that are coming into our emergency departments and hospitals. And that's when things get really, really tricky, because all these other things still happen. People still get heart attacks, people still get strokes, still infections, still motor vehicle accidents. And if we don't have the beds, then we don't have the beds.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm in Arizona, and I had a kidney issue a couple months ago. They had I got put in the pediatric ward because there was no beds available. But like, you're in the library room today. I'm like, oh, cool. Colors and stuff. And I'm like,
here's a teddy bear.
Yeah, I'm like, awesome.
That actually sounds nice.
It was comforting. It was, yeah.
Hey, you guys, we've got a new person on right now. We've got Mermaidmama Maggie, which she made that introduction video that we saw, the board game. She made that all herself, which was just amazing. It was such a fun.
Good.
Would you like to introduce Maggie? Would you like to introduce your channel right now, your YouTube channel, and your Instagram and your TikTok?
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you guys coming in the middle of your conversation. But hi, I'm Maggie. I'm doing political, satire and funny videos. Just a lot of silliness on my page, and some of it informative, some of it not. But I use humor during this time to kind of get me through what we're dealing with. And some people like it, some people don't,
She also did a video of a fly that landed on Pence's head, and she talked like the fly, and like, now I've got a Facebook page and an Instagram. Oh my gosh, I'm going to be famous. Even though I've just got 24 hours to live. It was just hilarious.
My most famous video is actually of me being Donald Trump's makeup artist and putting paint on him. That's my biggest one to date. But I also did one where I used grass as his hair, so that was good.
I love how you put Mitch McConnell as the turtle as the chief. Yeah, that was so funny.
That was so fitting, right? He looks like a turtle. What can we all say? I mean, if the turtle fits, right?
If you can just make him do that laugh too, that laugh, like that would be better.
I know. If there was only a Mitch McConnell turtle button, there you go. Yeah. See, the merch is just coming out. I mean, press the turtle.
Save the turtles.
That'd be great.
He laughs like a turtle too. Literally. Honestly, everybody was thinking that Mitch McConnell looks like a turtle, but we just don't want to say anything. But now that he's doing all this stuff, we can say it. Honestly, he's trying to take away our health care, trying to take away a lot of things. I hope that he gets voted out of office. I really do. It's going to make everything better. And also Lindsey Graham, if they get him voted out in Carolina, it's going to be amazing. And they get that one guy that's going against him, the I don't know his name, but he seems like a really nice family guy.
Jamie Harrison, I believe.
Harrison. Yep.
Yeah.
We need to get Mitch McConnell out of there. He's pretty much next to the devil at this point. He's done so much bad for this country at this point. He's the worst.
Oh, he's awful.
But yeah, I've got another clip to play. Actually, this is the legendary clip where Trump is called a creepy uncle, in the words of the lady that was doing the town hall with him, which
Savannah.
seemed to have, Savannah, she's amazing. I mean, that seemed to really backfire on him, actually. Before we play the clip, what do you guys think about that town hall? It really didn't go Trump's way at all.
No.
That's all there is to say.
No, you know what?
Really bad
I
cartoon.
watched it where I went back and forth between two questions, and the difference between Joe Biden and hopping from question to question was calm mania. Like, he was out of control. Mm-hmm. And he was just,
it was literally
so
like the devil on your shoulder and the angel on your shoulder, essentially.
Yeah.
I liked what I liked what Biden said about, it was like kind of more to do with like, he's everybody's president, not just one-sided president. He's everybody's president. And there was another thing that I'll get to later, but I'll play this video first. I mean, Biden really rocked it, I thought, at that town hall meeting overall. And Trump, I mean, he just did so badly. I mean, I guess he didn't get the questions in advance, but neither did Biden. Biden was also at odds of when he got asked a question, he had to think, because they were tough questions they were asking Biden. The one question that I was thinking of was when Biden was asked about, are you going to fill up the courts and pack the courts in? Are you guys going to really pack the courts in? And then Biden had this amazing answer, which was like, you guys should not be thinking about what I do. You should be thinking about what they're doing right now.
Literally packing the courts.
Yeah.
Well, they're not packing the courts. They're going to take away the health care, the Obamacare that we have, and they're going to take away, I guess they're going to try to do some abortion stuff. I don't know exactly, Roe versus Wade or whatever it's called.
Gay marriage might be an issue. Like,
exactly.
I think that I don't know why we're running away from it. I really think that we should pack the court. We should do a lot of things. We should make Washington, D.C. a state. We should make Puerto Rico a state, right? And very likely both of those places would have two Democratic senators, right? And then the Democrats would roll, and we would get rid of all of the way in which the Electoral College now leans towards helping the Republicans. Now it would lean towards helping Democrats unfairly, right? The idea that Wyoming has the same number of senators as California. California has fucking 40 million people. Wyoming has about 11 people, right? The idea that Idaho gets the same number of votes in terms of in the Senate as all of the people of California remains an astonishing fact to me.
Mm-hmm. We need more progressive views. I mean, unfortunately, the progressive candidates didn't get put in. I mean, we've got Joe Biden, and he's great, but it's going to be a long time for us to actually get a lot of these progressive views on the docket, unfortunately. Yes. I mean, we have to start somewhere, though.
I think we need to do away with the Electoral College. It needs to be vote by vote, and everything needs to be added up evenly. And it cannot just be like, oh, I won California and Texas and Idaho and whatever else, and then all those states all count towards 100% vote for each one. It just makes no sense. We need to have, like, the vote needs to be, if California is 50-50, then it needs to be 50-50. If Texas is 40-60, it needs to be 40-60.
The other thing I would consider doing, we should run on is, let's break up California, right? Make California 5 different states. The northern area would be Republican, and the rest of them would get, they'd get 2 senators for the northern part of California. And the Central Valley would be 2 Democratic senators. The Los Angeles area would get 2 more Democratic senators. The South, San Diego area would get 2 more Democratic senators. Right? Let's break up the state.
The North. Yeah. I'm in Northern California. We would be Democratic. Okay. No way. I would say
really
if you're
north.
if you're sure.
San Francisco is. I'll call Central.
But if you're looking in California where the real Republicans are, that's Orange County, San Diego. That's a really Republican down there.
Oh, I'm from San Diego originally.
Nice. Yeah, so I'm going to play this one video really fast. It's the video where he gets called a creepy uncle. Let's go check it out.
As far as the mask is concerned, I'm good with masks. I'm okay with masks. I tell people wear masks. But just the other day, they came out with a statement that 85% of the people that wear masks catch it. So, you know,
They
this
didn't
is
say
a
that.
very
I know that
tricky-
study.
Well,
That's
that's what I heard, and that's what I saw. And regardless, but everybody's tested, and they're tested often. And I also knew that, hey, I'm president. I have to see people. I can't be in a basement. I can't be in a room. I have to be out.
You can see
And I
people with a
also
mask,
know-
though, right?
I can, but people with masks are catching it all the time. I mean, if you look at the governor of Virginia, he was known for a mask. If you look at Tom Tillis, a great guy, he always had a mask, and they caught it.
Well, there are pictures of Tom Tillis actually with one of Judge Barrett's kids not wearing a mask. But, you know, Chris Christie, he was part of your debate prep.
Yeah.
He was, I believe, at that event. He came out tonight. He was sick, very sick. He was in the hospital for about a week.
I know
He
that.
came out tonight and said, I was wrong not to wear a mask.
Well, I mean, he has to say that. I think it's great. He's a friend of mine. He's a good guy. And wrong or not wrong, you have to understand, as president, I can't be locked in a room someplace for the next year and just stay and do nothing. And every time I go into a crowd, I was with the parents of our fallen heroes. These people are the most incredible people. And they came up to me and they would hug me and they would touch me. And I'm not going to not let them do it.
Now,
to
there
be
was
honest
an
with you.
event with the Gold Star
There was
families
exactly
the
right.
day
We had
after the Supreme Court
a Gold
event.
Star event with the most incredible people you've ever seen. And I could have chosen not to talk to them or to keep everybody away. And you know what? And I don't think that's probably where it was caught, but maybe it
Well,
was.
I was going to say, you bring it up. You brought it up yourself. I mean, are you trying to suggest that? Do you believe a grieving military family gave you COVID?
No, I don't know where it came from.
Okay.
And you don't know where it came from, and the doctors don't know where it came from. But as the president, I have to be out there. I also know.
Well, there's no one that says you can't be out there, but it's just about wearing masks and having, for example, your
But I
rallies.
know this.
Your rallies
As
don't
an
require
example,
masks.
No, I mean, let's see Kamala. She's got people now that people have it, and I'm not blaming her. I'm not saying, oh, she did a terrible thing. As president, I have to be out there. I can't be in a basement. I can't be locked in a very beautiful room someplace in the White House. And I want to see the Gold Star families, and I want to see everybody. And I also say to people all the time, it's risky doing it. It is risky doing
But
it.
as
It's risky
president,
seeing people.
you're right. You don't want to. You want to be a leader, but you also are a leader and a setter of an example. And if you're not wearing a mask when your administration is saying best practice right now is wear a mask, no, it's not foolproof.
But many
that
people
will,
are catching it. Many people are getting this disease that was sent to us by China, and it shouldn't have been allowed to happen. But many people are getting this, and I mean, nobody's being blamed. Everybody is working hard to get this thing out of our country, get it out of the world.
Yeah, actually, so it's just amazing. Yeah, it makes me go crazy when I watch Trump talk. I mean, he always denies, and he went to say that Kamala had some COVID thing that ended up giving people COVID. I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, one
but
of the people in their on their team got diagnosed with COVID, so they limited her travel.
Well, that's the right thing to do. I mean, you need to test and do everything possible to know who's got COVID. And President Trump, we don't even know if he got a COVID test the day of the Biden debate. I think the answer is no, he did not get it.
Right.
Test. He might not have gotten a test the day before either.
You know, his
34
behavior
people.
literally. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say 34 people in the White House, right, got the disease. The president, obviously, his wife, and their son, and 34 other people who work in the White House, right?
Yeah. I was going to say that his behavior, it literally feels like my 3-year-old. Like, you know, you were saying, well, why don't you just wear a mask? Well, I'm not going to stay locked in a basement. Now, don't make me. That's like my 3-year-old. I'm like, well, here, do you want just a little bit of snack? Well, I'm not going to have all the snacks. I don't want any snacks at all. I'm like,
The fact that he doesn't realize that as the president, he has to set an example is beyond me. It's after 4 years, he doesn't understand that that's part of being the president, is being a leader, is showing the people how to be.
But I think he feels like he is, because he feels like if he does wear a mask, then all his followers are not going to vote for him, and they're going to say that he's defected. So it's
he's
all
setting
about
an example for his people only.
Yes,
Those are the people he cares about. The rest of us, whatever.
Right. Oh, so sad.
Yeah, and I actually, so like, it was so funny when she said, you're like someone's creepy uncle. You're like, you're not someone's creepy uncle. And then, but it was funny though, because whatever her name is, his niece,
Mary
she tweeted something like,
Actually,
"Welcome to my life."
She wrote, actually.
Yeah, no, it was really funny, like how she wrote that, and I guess it didn't become quite a meme, but to her, he's always been creepy Uncle Don. He's Don the Con, and he's just a little baby, like you said, Christina. I mean, he acts like a 5-year-old, or maybe a 3-year-old. Maybe we can't give him that much credit. I don't know.
I got a 2-year-old.
Yeah,
I think 2 or 3.
Yeah.
2 or 3 for sure.
And you just
Lots of
maybe we
chances.
should have told him that.
Folds his arm and huffs and puffs. He literally does this like all the time.
Yes. That was actually one of the things that was in Mary's book. Was like a telltale sign of him when he crosses his arms. He's like a petulant child in that moment, and you see, like, especially during the debates or anything, that's what he does when he gets mad or he gets cornered. He just crosses his arm and pouts.
Yeah, no, it's it's identical to a kid. But I mean, yeah. So we've got 20 more minutes left, you guys. I really am really happy that you guys all came on board this thing. Let's focus on the things that I think we can look forward to this winter time. Dr. Tan, what do you think? Do you think our cases are going to be going up this winter indefinitely, or what do you think is going to be happening in the near future, and what should we do to protect ourselves the best way possible?
You're muted. You're muted.
Oh, sorry. It's good to be muted.
Thank you. So it's so hard to tell and to predict what will happen, but just with the incoming influenza season, it's really going to be a predictor of what's going to happen after November, because as our cases of influenza coincide with some of our lingering cases of COVID, it'll really see if people can get infected with both, if they're at increased risk of getting a bacterial pneumonia on top of it, and what our outcomes are from that as well. But what we're doing right now with encouraging as many people as possible to wear a mask to stop the spread, and also to social distance appropriately, is what's going to help us reduce our numbers here in the U.S. In Canada, I'm Canadian as well.
Right on.
Yeah. I'm actually going to be moving to Ontario next year in November. So I'll be in the Wyerton area.
Nice. There's a small problem though. I don't see your maple syrup on your desk there. Like, what's going on?
You got a Canadian flag over there.
So you grew up in Canada, actually?
Yeah, I'm from Montreal.
Oh, nice. Do you speak some French? Do you speak a good amount of French too?
I've been in the States for about 7 years now. I can tell you that my French isn't what it used to be.
But you do speak Cantonese, though. You do speak some good amount, or Fujianhua, or just Cantonese?
I speak a little bit of Cantonese. I can understand it, but I actually know more words in Swahili.
Wow.
Swahili? What is Swahili? I don't know that one.
East African language. I did my research in sub-Saharan Africa in Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, if I could just add a few things to that original question, Bert. I mean, everyone needs to get their flu shot. Like, there is no question this year is probably more important than any other year. It will be interesting to see what influenza cases look like this year. I mean, we've seen, in the Southern Hemisphere that it looks like their flu season hasn't been nearly as bad as it normally is. So that may be encouraging for us. But I think for those of us in the States, and I guess other parts of the world too, the tricky thing is going to be the holidays coming up, I think. So number one, schools reopening this fall, and then 2, holidays coming up. People are going to compromise their sort of bubbles or compromise whatever limits they put in place for who they see for the sake of Thanksgiving and for Christmas. And that to me is very concerning. I mean, I've already decided we're not doing Thanksgiving this year at all. And I think that's going to be an interesting sort of thing that's going to, I think, cause a big spike in cases. So I think getting flu shots, the same stuff, masks, distancing, and just keeping the hell away from people is what's going to save us.
I'm actually going to be going on a trip. I'm going to be going to Albania in about maybe 10 days from now around. Oh, wow. What do you recommend for me to have? Maybe the goggles and the a really, really good mask, like a better mask than
I
probably
mean,
what I have?
if I were to go on a plane right now, I would wear an N95 mask and I would not take it off ever. But the thing about an N95 that's really important, which is why it's important for the people and the lay people not to wear them, is they have to be fitted to you. So I, for example, saw someone wearing an N95 in the store, and she had hair, and you could see her bangs were like floating every time she took a breath. And that means that the N95 is not sealed, which means it's not doing anything better than a surgical mask. So I would say get an N95. It's probably better than a regular mask, but it wouldn't be harmful to wear eye protection because they tell us when we're in close proximity to patients for more than 15 or 20 minutes to wear eye protection. So you probably should too. I don't know. Just be careful.
Yeah. I would definitely do the same things. And well, when you're thinking about eye protection, you want ones that's pretty well covered, especially when you're in that close proximity. I'm not sure if they're going to restrict the seatings like they have been in the past few months where the middle seat's empty. But just back and forth, you're well within the 6 feet or 2 meter distance. So when you're thinking about how people are coughing and that type of stuff, you want your sides protected, and if you can, the top protected as well. So the type of goggles that we have kind of like covers pretty much everything. And we even go as far as to have like a kind of like a face shield as well, because things kind of drop down.
So ski goggles will work great. Just full ski goggles. You'll be fine.
Also,
Wait,
try
ski goggles.
Is eye protection a thing we need to do now?
No,
Yeah.
I mean, well,
On a
I will
plane,
say
at
this.
least.
Eye protection generally is recommended for people who have to be in close proximity to people. But if as a general population, we're doing social distancing, if as a general population, we're keeping away from people like we're supposed to and wearing masks, then you shouldn't need eye protection. I don't think it hurts to do it. But the reason why we need to wear it is because we have to see patients in close proximity. Yeah.
Right.
The first
You
couple
also
weeks
might want to
in
get some remdesivir.
What's that?
You might want to get some remdesivir.
Yeah.
Some of that steroid that the president got.
And just
Regeneron.
bring some of that
That's
polyclonal,
Regeneron.
antibody cocktail with you.
I'm just saying, if you can get that stuff, that'd be a good thing.
It's only 100 grand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cheap.
Not just remdesivir, but he was taking something else. What was it called? You guys should know it.
He took
Regeneron.
a polyclonal antibody cocktail by Regeneron, which is still in clinical trials. Yeah.
Yep, that's right. Regeneron.
Regeneron.
Regeneron, the number one. I don't know. He was making it like it was like an infomercial I saw on TikTok. That was just
It sounds like some formula some like movie villain comes up with. It's Regeneron. Like I am stronger.
And you know what? That kind of a name only makes him happier to,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh yeah,
suffer.
big time. Big time.
It reminded me of like the movie Avatar, the whole thing, the unobtainium. Like the stupidest name of all time.
Yeah.
That's kind of what Regeneron kind of sounds like.
Yeah, like pretty much. So one of the things that I have seen in Beijing when I was living in Beijing about 7 months ago when coronavirus first started, lots of people found out that it does possibly go to your eyes. Even in January, we knew about this. We knew how contagious it was. We knew everything about it, that it's aerosol, can land in your eye and infect everybody. This was properly shown by Li Wenyang, which was the guy that got infected himself. He was wearing a surgical mask, not a surgical mask, an N95 all the time, but he wasn't wearing the eye protection. He was using his normal glasses, and he got infected because he was dealing with a lot of patients, and he died. We realized that he probably got it just through his eyes. I mean, probably got it other ways too, because he was the whistleblower, the very first guy that was on the scene trying to tell people about it. But
I don't know how I never knew that.
Yeah, because you weren't in China. I was doing all the research. I was watching all the videos, so I knew about it. And that's why I left to go to Indonesia for like a month almost, and Malaysia also. And then I flew back to the United States, but then we started getting it here. So we ended up being a lot worse than Southeast Asia. If I would have stayed in Southeast Asia, I would have been on vacation mode still. Just chilling on the beach. I mean, really. And having very few cases right now because everybody wore a mask, everybody complied. It's very different than the United States. So it's
Asian people love masks. Our people love masks. I don't know. We're like totally cool with it, you know?
Yeah. And Christina, what ethnic background are you? Anyways,
I'm Korean. Well, I'm Korean American. My parents are from Korea, but I was born here in the States. But yeah.
Can you speak some Korean? Not right now. I'm just saying, can you speak Korean in general?
So similar to Dr. Tan, I understand it. This is this common scenario of like children of immigrants. Like I understand Korean, but I hardly speak it. It's like so sad. So
Yeah.
amazing. I can order food. That's it. That's the important thing.
I can only say like hello, like annyeonghaseyo,
Yeah.
and then bibimbap, like
Yeah.
the dish.
See, you can order
And-
food.
And kimchi jjigae. Kimchi jjigae is the best soup ever. If you go to a Korean restaurant, you got to order kimchi jjigae.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm the food expert, so I got to know all about Korean. I've done Korean food videos in Manila, or not in Manila, but in Angeles City. I've done Korean food videos, so I had to do all the research and
Nice.
learn what kimchi jjigae is. It's the best soup you can get when you're going to a Korean restaurant. So anyways, you guys, we've got like another like 10 minutes. I'm trying to make our live streams like a little bit more short than like we've gone 2 hours before. So, I mean, it's just like a really long live stream. So let's kind of start the outros and start talking about our channels and tell everyone to kind of follow us. And let's start off with Survival Doctor. You can give your kind of talk about your channel. And by the way, all of everyone's information is in the description below. So you can just literally go down there and find Survival Doctor. You can find every single person that's on this stream today and more, and also all the past streams. I put everybody in the down below in the past streams, so everybody is listed. So I hope to include more and more TikTokers and more people in this kind of fun group that we have got, and spread, you know, awareness and get our message out. So would you like to go first, Survival Doctor?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Dr. Tan with the Survival Doctors, and we're a group of first responders, doctors, and survivalists that teach you how to overcome injury and illness in a survival context. So it's pretty cool. In the past few months, we've collaborated with people who've been on the History Channel, National Geographic, and Discovery, and giving you that element of how to manage medical emergencies in those prolonged situations. But on the flip side, what I do for my day job, I'm a medical resident in family medicine in the U.S. So in early March, January, March, February, up until the early summer, I've been treating COVID patients in the inpatient, outpatient, and ICU setting. So a lot of my earlier TikToks were related to COVID. And as our numbers kind of ramp up again, I'll be kind of focusing on COVID as well. But right now, mostly treating wounds and that type of stuff in the Outback. And you can find out all my links in the description below. And I think I have the links over here as well. So that's,
nice.
Yeah, that's how you can reach me on all my platforms, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, as well as our free giveaways, which we give away like $400 or $500 worth of trauma and survival equipment at a time.
Wow. That is awesome. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys, like you doctors, joining us today. It's just such an honor to have you guys, because we don't always get to talk to doctors around here in the TikTok world. So next up, we got Jon from Be Less Stupid, which is an amazing YouTube channel. If he doesn't want to plug it, I will plug it. I have been binge watching his stuff for the past like 2 weeks about. I mean, not 2 weeks, but the last week I've been binge watching your stuff, and it's just amazing. I love you going to the border wall. I love you going to the Trump rally where you go to see the Trump's toilet, and then you snuck in, and then you got a visit from the Secret Service. I mean, these are amazing, epic videos, and Jon does a great job narrating them. You got to check out Jon's channel. So make sure you also check out his TikTok too. Yeah. So, anyways, Jon, let's talk about. I guess you also want to talk about the voting stuff too.
Yeah. Who I am today doesn't matter. But thank you for the plug. That's very kind. What's most important is quite literally, look, the people who watch TikTok and YouTube videos, you are the least likely people to turn out and vote. Right? We need people who are 18 to 34 years old to come out and vote on November 3rd and get rid of Donald Trump. Right? If Donald Trump gets reelected, your friends, right? Your friends who are gay, lesbian, transgender, bi, their lives are going to be much more difficult over the next 4 years. Your black and brown friends, their lives are going to be much, much worse. And perhaps even worst of all, you're going to lose your choice in terms of what grows inside your body. This is to the women, obviously. And you're going to end up as a parent, potentially, at the very moment that you are still a child. So please, make sure that you are registered to vote, and please tell your friends to come out and vote on November 3rd. Vote for Joe Biden, right? You may not love Joe Biden. Is he the very best candidate in the history of Democratic candidates? No. However, he's a decent guy who is not going to put children in cages. He's not going to force Latin American women to have surgeries on their abdomen, to have their uteruses removed, right? If they get caught by the Department of Homeland Security, right? He's not going to suddenly make it so that transgendered people can't be members of the military. He's not going to make it so that you can't get an abortion. Anyway, so please make sure that you come out and vote on November 3rd. If there is an enormous Democratic landslide, right, Trump will not be able to steal the election. So we must crush him, right? When you go for the king, you have to come with all of your powers and all of your might. Everyone, please, November 3rd, come out and vote Democrat, all down the line.
And then we've got BrainDaddy.
Oh, it's a lot of face. Okay. So my channel is the BrainDaddy YT on TikTok. I finally got my main page back. I do political videos on there. I try to be silly and goofy and have fun with it. But my favorite thing to do is to yell at Trump supporters and their dumb comments. I've kind of made a habit out of it. They don't like me very much. But anyway, yeah, I just try to be, it's a really dark time right now, so I really try to be funny with it. But I also want to piggyback off Jon again by saying we got to really speak to the younger voters, especially the young ones on TikTok who can vote, to make sure they are absolutely being encouraged to go out there and vote. Because just like Jon said, speaking as a gay American here, I don't want to lose my rights as a human being in this freaking country. So we need to vote for the right people, vote blue all the way down. And I love Joe Biden.
And BrainDaddy or Mike, yes. How did you get banned from TikTok? Tell us the story really fast.
I was doing a live, and I thought I would be goofy, and I put the green screen behind me, and I put a shirtless picture, cartoon of Donald Trump. He had man boobs, but he was wearing nipple tassels, so he was covered. But they called it extreme pornography, so they kicked me off.
Hey, do you have a copy of that picture?
I do.
That. If you could just give me the URL for that photograph. I'm going to need that right now.
Well,
I'm going to write it down.
I put another one up, too, of Donald Trump shirtless, swinging on a COVID wrecking ball, you know, like the wrecking ball song. And apparently that's also frowned upon. So word to the wise, don't show shirtless pictures of Donald Trump. Not that anyone wants to see that crap, but it was funny.
I do now. I have to go find these.
Don't put it on TikTok.
Then we've got Bulletproofmedic here, which is really great to have someone that's like abroad that can tell us the sanity that's going on abroad and how crazy they think we are. It's awesome to hear your side of the story. Yeah, Bulletproofmedic, you go now.
So I would like to take my time to speak about something serious. It'll be the same thing I mentioned last week. So there was a gentleman that messaged me a while back. Messaged me through Twitter and said that his daughter had been bullied a lot at school, had been having a really rough time. They make fun of her looks, I guess. Actually, I just had a video chat with her a few days ago. She's amazing. She has gorgeous blue hair, and it's a shitty situation that she's going through. But he'd messaged me and said that he'd heard her laughing for the first time in months. And when he went to see what she was laughing at, she was looking at my comedy. And that comment alone was pretty amazing. But I'm working on a plan right now. And she's in Northern Ireland, and their COVID situation is pretty crappy, like terrible. But I'm working on a plan to fly out there and see her. But I'm also I created a merch line, and I'm selling stuff to buy her a Christmas present, whatever she wants. Whether I just get her a gift card, or if she tells me which present she wants, I'll get it for her. I just want to use my time to say, please go look at that. The link is on my TikTok. There's a video response that I posted to her. The short version of it is on my TikTok. The full version is on my Twitter. That's at Anthony C. Walker, or on my YouTube, Bulletproofmedic. Again, the link for the merch for her is in my TikTok bio. So please go take a look at that. And anyone here, if you could take a look at my TikTok video about this and duet it just so more people can see it, that would be amazing. So far, I've raised just over $200 Canadian dollars, funny money, as you might call it, to get her something. And I don't know, she doesn't have a cell phone, so maybe she'll end up getting a cell phone or something cool like that. But whatever it is, I just want to, it was just really, awesome hearing that. So I just want to get her whatever. And when we go over there, the plan I'm working on is to go over there with someone that's in the Canadian Air Force. He's a water bomber pilot. So we're going to take her up flying. Northern Ireland is technically part of Britain. I guess there's a thing there. So we're going to borrow some, or as he calls it, procure some equipment from Britain, equipment being planes. And we're going to take her and her family up for a day flying and just give them, the time of their lives. And hopefully she'll, forget about everything else.
That's awesome. I love that. I saw your TikTok and it was amazing. Like what you're doing is so
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah, I know.
I say this to people. It costs $0 to be nice. So just be nice. I don't get it, and kids don't get it.
Hey, do you follow Patty the Panda, Bulletproof?
I will look up Patty the Panda.
I love him. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's really funny, but he's in Ireland, so he might.
Patty,
be
okay.
Good. Yeah,
I just talked to Patty thanks to Mike, actually, BrainDaddy. He introduced me to Mike, and he's coming on this Tuesday. So,
nice.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. And we're now trying to do more, like bring people in, even for like 10 minutes at a time or 20 minutes at a time for our TikTok, not our TikTok, but for our YouTube Live. I mean, if you want to get in, just message me and tell me, hey, can I get in for 15 minutes? I want to join the conversation. I really want to get people in. I love bringing everyone in this TikTok community together and kind of having this community and interaction with other TikTokers. And I mean, it's not famous or anything yet, but this is pretty fun. And I think that people on TikTok wish they were here if they knew about this, because we've got so many fun people in this room right now, and it's just a great time. But anyways, here we go, Christina. Yeah. Let's talk about your stuff. And I love Christina's channel. You got to check her out too. And she's got a lot of great information about masks and medical and other stuff too. But here she is.
Thanks. So I'm Christina. My TikTok username is Christina NP with 7 A's. I'm also on Instagram, but primarily on TikTok. So my page primarily at this point is COVID-19 medical education and kind of debunking misinformation and myths that are out there. It didn't start out like that, but that's kind of what it's turned into. I do have a couple like random like mom TikToks thrown in there. So if that kind of throws you off or isn't your taste, sorry. But I think that's my page. So if you want to join and have fun, I try to do some funny content too, in addition to sort of more educational content. But I think my big takeaway message is always going to be, please trust the experts. Like, please trust people who know what they're talking about. If there's information that's being spread out there, like, please put a critical thinking hat on and just sort of really sort of think for yourself and not just believe everything you're hearing.
Awesome. That's really important stuff to know and to actually go, like, don't listen to Donald Trump's tweets about some conspiracy. Right. He's the creepy uncle that you really shouldn't be listening to.
And also, don't listen to a welder when a welder tries to tell you how virus transmission works. That's just common sense. Yeah.
No, definitely. And yeah, so last and definitely not least, I mean, she actually started off this whole thing. We played her video of the board game, which just was so funny. We're going to end with that too, so everybody can see. Make sure you subscribe to her channel.
You're giving me more plays than TikTok, so I'm loving you right now. You go talk to the algorithm about this, because we guys, come on.
Yeah, no, definitely. But like, definitely go check out her channel, and she's going to have a lot more stuff on her YouTube channel. And it's just in the link down below, not the link, but it's in the description down below. You can see her under Maggie. Let's talk about your channel, Maggie.
Like I said before, not too long ago, it's silliness, politics. I love making fun of Donald Trump. I love just, comedy is my thing. But also, I'm going to yield my time to just saying vote. Everybody get out there and vote. That's really the most important thing. A lot of my TikToks are about cheesy voting videos because really at the end of the day, that's what we need to do. We need to band together and get this man out of office because I want to start making some different TikToks.
I'm looking forward to that with your creativity. I mean, I'm going to play the TikTok video of hers when we end this, but I want to get everybody's, I mean, not everybody's, but any last words of anybody that wants to get any last forgotten words. And then we're going to be playing Maggie's funny board game TikTok video one last time. And then that's going to be the end of the live stream. I really appreciate you guys all for sticking around till the end right now. And any last words? John or anybody?
Yeah, I just want to say F Trump. That's just F Trump.
I second that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Notice I didn't say, even though I would prefer to use the word fuck, I didn't because I think it's a good way to get banned, and so I don't want that for you.
Yeah. No, we don't want that on anyone's channel. I mean, it's not going to get us banned.
All the time. I say it on TikTok all the time. So
you do?
Oh yeah.
But don't say it on YouTube though.
Not on YouTube,
No. Don't say it on YouTube, John.
No, not on YouTube.
You're gonna get demonetized.
Yeah, you can't.
You're getting money from this every day. So I want to get you money. I want to see you. It also doesn't only affect your YouTube like money coming in from the monetization. It affects your algorithm and it puts you in a new like adult category and it puts you down. So it's just better not to cuss on a live stream. But on your channel, actually, you can edit out any cuss word at the end right now. You can just go to the edit button on YouTube and you can edit out your bleep, the F word. It doesn't matter if you're not monetized. If you're not monetized, it doesn't matter half as much. But for you, John, it does. So the computer system, no, it's only affecting you right now because you're the only one monetized here.
Yeah.
But the computer system will detect it. The word, but it doesn't always detect it, but it will. It can. But anyways, it's just one where you only mess it up at the end. We almost had it. Anyways, you guys, any other last words? It was great having you guys all here.
Yeah, absolutely. I would like to add in that people are saying there's, and I mentioned this on Twitter today, there's people saying there's 16 days to the election. I would say the election is not in 16 days. The election is right now. Go out and vote. Don't wait until the last day. Early voting in Florida starts tomorrow. If you're in Florida, go vote. If you have early voting open in your state right now, what's stopping you? Go out and do it now. You can track your vote online and make sure that everything's going right with it. I just heard about today, to that point, that there was an election judge that shut down a voting machine because someone twice voted for Biden, but the machine had switched it to Trump. Yep. So if you do your voting right now, you can get all that out of the way. You can make sure that you voted for Biden like you meant to, or God help you, Trump like you meant to, whatever. But you can make sure that it's done properly and it's out of the way, and you're not. I mean, there's always things that could come up on if you go to do it November 3rd. Car accident, you get hit by a bus, traffic jam, etc., etc. Do it now.
Don't tell us what to do, Canadian.
On a sunny note, you might get hit by a bus.
You might get creamed by a car,
But anyways, it was such an honor to have you guys all, and such a fun time hanging out with all you guys. I hope we can do this again. Maybe different lineup, maybe same lineup. We'll just see how it goes. But yeah, really awesome to have you guys. I'm gonna play this last video, and I'm gonna play this right now, and I'm gonna put this thing over here. Any last words? Last words? Any Dr. Tan? Do you have anything to say?
No, I think everyone covered it. Just be safe.
Okay.
Social distance. Cover your face.
Perfect. Well, yeah. Thank you guys so much for joining, and we will be going to this message. Here we go. I'm gonna put this over here.
Do you have a president that lies constantly, who's told over 20,000 lies or misleading claims in the past 4 years? Well, why not make a game out of it? From the company that brought you Jumanji and 2020, we bring you Liar Liar Pants on Fire. In this board game, you'll need to bring your player through a minefield of lies until they end up in jail. I'll be Donald Trump and you be Mitch McConnell. Ooh, a mystery lie. I don't know Jeffrey Epstein.
You are fake news.
Time to go back a square. Hey, Donald's in jail. I won. Aww. Featuring some of your favorite lies like Mexico will pay for the wall and my tan's not fake. Also, it's a Democratic hoax. I'm a stable genius. I don't know the guy. And the virus will just disappear like a miracle. Replacement packs come every 2 days.
Thanks, liar, liar, pants on fire.